areas, and they're starting to get closer and closer together, typically it means the end of a trend. But it's hard to really note if, or to decipher, I guess, if it's the end of this bounce off of the low, because these balance areas are starting to try to overlap with each other, or if the downside move has been getting weak and now these are starting to balance, and this is just a big accumulation, which is kind of what I think is going on right now. And that's not to say that we can't break the low, especially with other news coming out of um, the US today about their deal with Israel and blocking Iran from building any nuclear weapons, so that could be a little market effector. But I really think this is just one big bracket and could just be accumulation. And if this gap holds, and we've seen gaps hold in the past, typically gaps to the upside normally get fixed, gaps to the downside normally get fixed, but typically take a little bit longer time, as we've seen this one's been holding for about a month now. June 17th, and it's the 14th today, so we could be seeing that, right? Maybe a test of this and then the rally. Really hard to tell. Um, but it's I mean it's really just kind of one of those times where we just have to really stay patient and wait for the market to kind of decide what it wants to do. And that deciding factor is going to be up here to test this upper gap, or down here below to test this lower balance, because we haven't really been back to this lower balance for about a month. And then I kind of think really these levels here, this last and the settle, are pretty much going to be our deciding factors here if the market is going to come down here and balance, or if we come down here and balance, I think the downside is going to be where we're going to go. But if we come down here and see a strong response, then we'll be looking to probably take up to this gap. And if we look at the bar chart, just to make it a little bit easier to look at, look at the ES here, you can see we do have a downtrend here, and then a little bit of the uptrend still holding here for the most part, right? But it's getting really tight. Not really a huge fan of this downside line. I think more we're just going to be looking, just erase this. We're really just going to be looking in this area to see if buyers show up, and if no buyers show up and we do get liquidation, then that downside is probably going to be coming hard and fast. But it's a really difficult thing to tell. For me, the selling off of this 50 EMA or SMA off the daily chart is mechanical, I think, because it's a very easy to see reference, and typically we know that people that sell off easy to see references are shorter term time frame traders, right? So even if we have intermediate term time frame traders trading inside this bracket that we're in here, and they sold here initially where that gap was at, so they were able to hold this gap. Market came down, market came back up, they front ran that 50 SMA, and now we're back down into balance. So on the retest of that, I doubt that they'll continue to hold this position, and the key will be getting above this 50 SMA, and that would show us a flip from these sellers, short-term sellers selling the 50 to coming up to buying and reclaiming this gap. But I mean, it's a really difficult thing. And even if we switch to the weekly as well for a little bit longer term view, as I'm looking at this, I see a possible P profile, right, on a longer term, but then I also see maybe a B profile also. So it's kind of like really the market is in a very indecisive position, tightening every week. We have 2 weeks inside the previous week, and the market really is having a tough time deciding what it wants to do here. And I think like we always say, patience is going to be the real factor here. And today, especially, I think being patient and picking your spots is going to be very important with with the possible news coming out, right? I imagine there's going to be a lot of press conferences because Twitter was pretty busy last night. And we can kind of see, let's just go through these real quick. You can see Apple kind of hanging out. You can see Microsoft, just really in a big balance. Google kind of in the same situation. Amazon, you know, in the lower balance as well. Tesla, same idea. Meta, just, continuously just getting smacked. And some of our earnings at the end of the month. Okay, let's do this. Watch. Here. We put all. Not sure how to get it to show the earnings for like the entire S&P, but see, scan through these real quick and figure out. So Tesla earnings next week. United Health, Johnson & Johnson. Go. So JP Morgan reports today. So we do have some financial earnings today, which could bring a little bit of volatility to the market here. Most of them are going to be next week. Most of the bigger names are going to be next week. Ryzen. Yeah, so really, I mean, the only big earnings today is going to be the JP Morgan. Morning, Adam. Morning, Cam. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking is if they want to test that low and grab up that liquidity and kind of trap these laggard sellers, you know what I mean? So we typically see a excess at the bottom of a move. So it would make sense to me to kind of repair these weak lows. Like we do have a weak low here. There is a weak low down here, but this is, I think, basically supply just kind of dried up. And now that we're back at this level, this weak low, I kind of think we might give a little peek below it at least to try to see what the deal is. But no way to know for sure, I guess. But it would make sense to me that they just try to at least tempt these laggard sellers that are looking at this 9.1 CPI getting in here and they're like, the market's crashing, let me sell, 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 just like we had yesterday in Globex, right? A lot of late sellers got trapped down low, and then boom, the market rallied for the rest of the day, and then just covered shorts. Well, right here, covered shorts for the most part of the day. And then we do have pretty mechanical high in Globex, right? The selling really occurred off of the settle, and that makes sense to me um that makes sense to me that these people are really just price addicted, right? Or they're not paying attention to how the market's developing. They're really just paying attention to price, and price went down yesterday, so we should, I think, get some laggard sellers today and might have a decent opportunity to catch responsive longs if buyers show up at these lower levels. Hope oil is nuking. Let's see what's oil sitting at. Oh yeah, oil's down at 92, down about 3% here. Dang. Everything's looking red except the dollar. Bitcoin's actually green as well. Let me see here. Edit studies. It's called tick values. Let me see. Edit sources. Check your Discord. You should have it.
Thanks, Brad. I just got back to my screen because my wife came in right when I asked you that question. She gave me a kiss to say bye for the day, and I was like, "Oh crap, he's showing me what I just asked." Thanks, man.
No worries. All right, welcome everybody. You're about 5 minutes away from the open. Let's go ahead and start preparing, right? Do what you normally do. Make sure your plan is ready. Make sure that your game face is on. Make sure your brain is awake. And let's have a great day. So there's been a seller kind of sitting on this 60 again. This 3760. We'll kind of see what they decide here. About 3 minutes left. The Apple's sitting below here, still within its range of yesterday. So Apple isn't below its low like the ES is. Let's take a peek around to see. Can we just do like 30 minutes? Few days. Beautiful. So AMD still in its yesterday's range. Amazon sitting right at its zero gamma level. So this is going to be key today, this 110 level on Amazon. Above 110, should it hold, we should be able to jump into some possible calls and target that 113. Below this 110, we can expect the market makers probably to start shorting to hedge to get back to a zero and target yesterday's open down at 107. But for the most part, still sitting in the upper range of yesterday. Meta, pretty much the same thing. Microsoft's been getting punished a lot lately. I don't even have the gamma levels on here. It's just been getting punished. They did make a deal. Microsoft made a deal with Netflix. And here's Netflix sitting right at its zero gamma level. Actually, no, zero gamma is the level's 185. It's actually a pretty interesting level for Netflix. And I think there is some opportunity for Netflix today. See what we're looking at on the trade. Where did we like the 180? So Netflix made a deal with Microsoft today that where they will be able to um what's it called? They're releasing a new version of Netflix that's cheaper that has ads. Getting it. Here we go. Who's ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. Now it's time.
Let's get it.
We're ready. Everyone's awake. Market's going to open in 14 seconds. Remember, we're going to be opening up on a gap. Here's yesterday's low, so we are going to be opening up on a gap lower. Look for that gap to close off of the open. If the gap does not close, we want to go with any gap that does not close initially. There's the open. Market bids up. Remember, overnight inventory is 100% net short, so it would make sense to try to get up there. We'll have to see if sellers respond to hold this gap. Breath opens up negative 14 to 1. Negative 18, it's already picking up. The Nasdaq's not doing too terrible. There's the bid off of the open. Remember, the seller's sitting up here on the 60. They've been sitting up there for, about for a couple hours now. I was up pretty early today watching the market. So, there still is that seller trying to be active and moving down. Someone's hitting that automatic automatic profit taker right there. I heard it. Cha-ching, cha-ching. I need to bring 50 Cent back in here, huh? Pretty fast liquidation there. Volume came in at the top. Watch for the market to get below its open so the gap doesn't close there. Still a couple ticks off. Short-term buyers off the open. Bought got into an AMD call. Interesting. That is interesting. Let's see, that tick opens up pretty low here. See a quick sell-off from Netflix. Watch for it to break below into that lower balance range. Look at the triple Q here. The Nasdaq not as weak as the rest of the market, but starting to come down close to its low. Look at the volume forming, starting to get that taper and putting in our first half pipe here. Right? A little baby one, and then another little baby one up on the top. Pretty choppy this morning. That's why I said today's going to be one of those days where picking your entries is going to be extremely important. Seller sitting at 60. Still sitting at 60.
Good morning.
Morning. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing good. Getting ready to go to work.
Yes.
Caught my necessary evil already this morning,
Necessary.
so I'll be. Yeah, the money. Never chased the money. I got hella points. So
Hella. That's how you know my dad's from California. Want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers on mountainviewers.com.
Is it me or is it everybody?
What are you losing? How do you see that there is a seller sitting at 60? I'm just looking on my depth of market, my DOM, and I've been on the market for a while this morning, or since this morning, and that's that's kind of how I've been noticing that. Look for one tick shy. That so people are probably buying the Globex low. That's mechanical, but we do see some short covering here. See if we can get some more sellers attracted at these lower prices. Weak spot is going to be the 45. Market gets above 45, we'll start to see more short covering, but if we stay below 45, they'll probably take out that Globex low. Definitely some short covering going on here. There's that 45, so it gets above, so watch for the short covering here. They're still trying to battle it. Was that pop? So it looks like a little bit of volume trying to move down here. They're trying to offer down this 49.50 level. Back below that 45 here. Sellers need to get, there they go, back below this 45, and they need to hold it below this 45, or else these people that are short at the low are going to start to get nervous and then cover. And that's kind of what we're seeing right there. That offer level is going to be the 49. Above the 49, next level up is that 52, and then above that's going to be the 60. Sellers still trying to hammer it down here. Watch for the volume increase down here. That's what we need to see. We need to see, you know, for the low side to continue, we need to see a decent volume increase at these lows. I don't know where this thing is at. Go. It's the break. Pretty strong bounce off the bottom. A little bit of short covering. Let's see. Sellers need to get back below this 40. There they go. Buyers sitting on the 40. Be in a meeting, no audio for a bit. Volume starting to come in down here on these lows. And look how thin the profile is getting, pushing it down, and then you get this really kind of a short covering bounce. Remember, watch this 45 level. That's going to be the key level that these sellers need to hold below. Once they give up the 45 level, it'll probably be over. Still coming in. Volume still trying to pressure it in. And this is why we always go with the gap, right? So gap came up, didn't fill. We want to go with the gap. That's what the gap rules. Some this. Getting like a Sierra chart notification. Your balance is 0.060 and it's not enough to renew your subscription. Well, the subscription's not up for like the end of the month, so how about notify me then? Little battle down here. Sellers really trying to sell and buyers trying to hold, but it looks like sellers are starting to get an advantage. There they go. That weekly VWAP. So a little bit of short covering coming off of on this 37 here. Weak spot's going to be at 42. You can see the tick still getting sold pretty hard. Look at the breadth. Consumer staples, utilities, real estate still green, but the breadth, look, 15 to 1 and almost 2.5 to 1. Eldora, good morning. Triple Q coming close to that 0 gamma level. If the triple Q starts to get below this 0 gamma level, you can expect market makers to start selling the triple Q to hedge against their position, and that could drive the market farther down, possibly down into this gap, which would be the target here. 371, about 90, what's that, 96 contracts traded on the low. Above 42, there's probably covering up to the 48. Still selling into the bid for now though. 27 contracts, 119 contracts. There they go. Big buyer 34.50, 118 contracts. Still just selling the bid. Selling. And how I view this, right, when we're starting to get these different distributions, even though we are in the same session, right, I almost look at these as single prints here, right? So we had a distribution accumulation, right? Buyers lost it, they gave up. Here's their liquidation. It came down. They tried it again. We're coming down a little bit again. So above this, test into this area. Let me clean it up for us, right? I mean, really, it's all the way up to here. If we're going to treat this like single prints here, and that's lining up with the current half back as well. And we can kind of, start to see if the volume is coming in here and we get another break. We'll start to see where volume comes in. We'll add another set mentally. Wonder why crypto isn't following the S&P going down. The movement is negligible. Yeah, I actually noticed that as well because Bitcoin was actually up. I think Bitcoin's back to flat for the day. Yeah, pretty much right at flat for the day. The Bitcoin futures are at least. Remember, weak spot on the profile is 42, so these sellers still reoffer up here in volume and then still below 42. $700 contracts trade on that low. Actually, about 80, no, 90, what, 92? So notice here the tempo's slowing down a little bit to the downside, indicating that, maybe inventory is getting a little bit too short, might need to bounce a little bit to get that continuation to the downside. So be careful. Remember, we don't want to be shorting at the lows. Sebastian, good morning. Our weak spot is still 42. Decent sized bid sitting on the 30, 316 contracts. Sellers are offering here this 34 to 36 level still.
Can you explain overnight inventory and what you're seeing and how that
What's up, Mark? What, Kevin?
can you explain overnight inventory and where you're seeing that and how that affects the next day?
So overnight inventory is this profile here, right? So these bright green is the cash session, dark green is the overnight session. And so I measure overnight inventory from the settle. Some people measure it from the last, some people measure it from wherever they measure it. This is still where I measure it. 42 is the weak spot, guys. Watch the 42. But for me, overnight inventory is pretty much 100% net short, right? And typically we'll see off the open, as we did, a little bit of a correction of overnight inventory. We got a nice key today because the gap didn't close, so we were able to get short early on and write it down, and then we were able to identify that the market got a little bit too short and was probably going to bounce, right? And the overnight inventory is just telling us that pretty much everybody overnight has been getting short, and so we can expect overnight inventory, or overnight traders typically tend to be weaker handed traders and are more willing to exit their position on a rally the opposite way, right? So if we did get a short covering rally that took us back above into yesterday's range, I imagine that probably we would have come up a little bit higher. But since we weren't able to get inside yesterday's range, these overnight people that are short became a little bit confident, started pushing onto their short, and the market continued to the downside. That's pretty, I mean, that's pretty much just how overnight inventory works. Video here popped up. And now we're seeing, we saw the market bounce a little bit, got above that 42, fixed up that weak profile, and here comes the sellers ready and willing to continue, or try to continue, back to the downside. Starting to see a little half pipe form here, volume above volume. All single prints here going into the Juneteenth holiday that need to repair very weak area to exploit. Which single prints are we talking here? Celsius news effect on BTC? Yeah, I'm not sure. I saw the Celsius news, and it's like people falling for the same old trick, you know what I mean? At least that's what it feels like to me. It's like that Luna 2.0, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry I stole all your money. Oh, but here's Luna 2.0. Have some of this." And everyone's like, "Oh, okay, I feel better now." It's like you go to the doctor's office and they give you a shot, and then the doctor's like,
pretty big news.
"Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely. It's huge." Yeah. But it's like the same old dog and pony show, you know what I mean? You go to the doctor's office and get a shot, and then the doctor's like, "Here's a lollipop." And you're like, "Oh, that's better." Even though he just got done jabbing you with a needle. It's I don't know, it feels like people are like goldfish. Just swim around the tank and forget everything that just happened.
I agree.
So back to this 42 level. This was the weak spot in the profile. This is where these sellers are going to get a chance to re-offer. Seeing a big bid step up on the 40, 600 lots. Only trades 15 that time. Two more. Sellers are going to have to move down to sell it. It keeps adding in. 6 back above 600 now. Doesn't trade that tick. There it goes. Somebody jumped on it. Watch for the market to bounce here. If it doesn't go down fast, we might get a bounce. Be careful. The 40 is where that order traded, the 40. A lot of chop this morning, too. A lot of back and forth, except for that initial move to the downside. Thanks for this, Brad. Way better quality than Twitch and YouTube. Oh, yeah, no problems, yeah. Which DOM am I using? I'm using this one. Right. Pop it open. Or I could detach it, actually. This is what my DOM looks like. So just the normal Sierra chart DOM. So not able to hold below that 40. I think we might get a little bit of a bounce. Let's see, the reoffer level is probably up at 48. And the target for these buyers is probably going to be the open, which is at 49.5. %, setup. Morning, Patrick. So the sales as well, the one you are getting alerts on. Alerts. You're talking about that dinging noise? That dinging noise is like a pre-built alert to just say, like, to just show when it jumps the bid or jumps the ask, when people are getting a little bit over aggressive. But we still have kind of a weak spot forming on this 42, but it looks like volume's coming in right below it. So it looks to see if these sellers are going to move down and continue it lower. They need this, like I said, they need to get below that 40 and hold below that 40 if we want to see any more downside. So really, I'm not really going to be getting in any more shorts until we establish below this 40. Kind of like a long from here with a stop of 40. Down some 48 maybe. Yes, that's on Sierra charts, Thomas. Correct. Yeah, Sierra charts. Yeah, the time and sales on, or the I don't know if there is a DOM on here. Let's see. Trade. So if we go here, active trader. So there is a depth of market here on Thinkorswim, but it's just, it's not, for me, it's not very efficient. So I don't really like it. So let's see if we can get up to that 48. The seller's just still sitting on that 48. 285 lots. Be a decent little move here. Yeah, no problem, bro. And if you guys need help setting up stuff, like Thinkorswim or Sierra Charts or NinjaTrader, or you have questions and stuff, just screenshot it, send it to me on Discord. I always have my phone, so everything comes right to my phone. So if I'm not at my computer, I might be limited able to help you, but I can definitely guide you through it. And I have no issues getting on like a little Discord call to help you guys out. So just, don't be afraid to reach out. I'm not just gonna be like, no, fuck you, figure it out yourself. Even though, I do I do want you guys to at least try to figure it out yourself. Don't just ask questions than be a that's why I tell Jared all the time. He's the smartest dumb person I know. So there's 48. I just closed that long. That's all I was looking for. The target here is still going to be the open for these buyers, but we'll see if we get some mechanical selling off of the open, a little bit of front running here. But I think that if you guys try to figure it out on your own and can't figure it out, definitely reach out.
That's the statement of don't be a let me Google that for you person.
Right. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Because most of the time that's what I'm going to do, right? I'm like one of the qualities that I developed from the military and it's really underrated is researchability, and that's one thing, it's hard to, if you're going to get a job or something like that, it's hard to really explain that, let's say in a context that a hiring manager is going to know. So you go to apply for a job and maybe you're not fully qualified, but you're like, hey, listen, I have really good researchability and I'm really good at finding answers. And that's as a manager, when you have subordinates, you don't want them to be coming to you and be like, hey, what's this, what's this, what's this. It's the same thing as my kids, right? They ask me a question and I say, I don't know, did you look it up? Right? Because they have, this generation, this younger generation, they have the easiest access to all this information, but for some reason they still want to ask the questions. And there's nothing wrong with asking questions, but I force my kids to use the internet for the way that it was supposed to be, which is to
It's
share
right
information.
really right in there.
You're cutting out, Kevin.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Well, I was saying it is irritating because it's literally right in their hand. They're holding it and they don't spend the 30 seconds, like it's literally on Twitter where they're arguing something. It's like, and they even spend 30 seconds to Google what they're arguing. You know what I mean? It's insane. It is super irritating, though. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big animals person. I really uh like I like National Geographic, and like if you've seen Planet Earth, I fucking love that movie. But as a kid, I would go to the library and just read all the animal books, and so I know all of these like interesting animal facts. But I had to put in the time and go read these books to find it out. And to me they're interesting. To some people they're useless. I just like animals, but now you watch Planet Earth and all that information, like, boom, check this out, check this out, check this out, check this out, and that's like, to me, it's just amazing. But it's just, you gotta teach them, because, and that's the thing I think, is they don't know, because, probably most of their friends are just watching dumbass videos on YouTube about other kids playing with toys or shit like that. Did I fade the A low? I took a long at 34 quarter and 34, and then took them off at 39.50, and then got long again at 42 and took it off at 48 quarter. So I took a little bit of heat on that A low, came up, and then that second trade I didn't really take any heat. And the first trade that I took was a short from 53 and closed it out at 41, which was too early. I have been experiencing some slippage, Tommy. That's interesting that you bring that up. Yeah, 2 days this week I did experience some slippage, which was pretty annoying as fuck, if you ask me. Because it just didn't make any sense why I was getting the slippage.
Bad internet gives you slippage for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I am on Wi-Fi now too, so that could definitely be a factor.
Did whoever it was on that when they were asking about Bybit and they were having problem with Bybit lagging or whatever, try that that thing in the bottom right hand corner where it says route. I don't know what that is, but I think it changes servers and it does make a huge difference, especially in slippage.
I actually recently took all of my cash out of all of my crypto trading accounts and just put it in storage because um yeah, I just don't know about the crypto market at all right now, and I don't want to have Bybit be like, fucking pull a South Park on me, like, and it's gone. Like, what? So
I instinctively did the same thing. Actually, I pulled everything out. I'm like, fuck this. I'm putting it away.
yeah, I mean, it's just scary, it's like, and they say, I mean, yeah, the market cap was caused by like 3 trillion or whatever. It came down like 3 trillion, and most of that money was in shitcoins, and so it makes sense that it disappeared, but
Yeah.
it just makes me nervous.
I'm leaving my $30 in there until the end of time. They can have my $30. It's like watching a movie because there's like so much drama. It's like totally worth it.
Gotta have skin in the game.
Yeah, I had quite a bit in my Bybit account, so I just decided I'm not taking the risk anymore. B period's opening up. Let's see what we get. We open up down on the lows below the 42, right? That's where all the volume came in. Let's see if they're going to give us that continuation to the downside here, if they're going to start trying to fill in. This is kind of a weak spot right here, this 36, 35 area. We can see like the middle of our half pipe.
It does suck that all this crypto shit's happening. I mean, it's like nothing can be good. Like anything that's good, somebody's gonna fuck it up. You know, it's like human nature. I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, those three AC guys, they've caused a cascade. I think there's gonna be a lot more skeletons in people's closets. I think there's gonna be a lot more shoes to fall. I wouldn't have Bybit, KuCoin. I mean, KuCoin slipped all the way down to like number 15. They were way up there in liquidity. So who knows what's going on there? I mean,
Well, a lot of people are probably doing similar things. They're just not trading crypto because of the extremely high risk right now. Freddie Mac 30-year mortgage average 5.51 with average 0.8 point as July 14th. Morgan Stanley CEO says deep and dramatic recession unlikely in the U.S. Oh, really? So there. Eurozone banks hit lowest level since February 2021, last down 3.5%. Breadth is still extremely negative. We can see a tick coming back down below that 1,000 as we're breaking this low, right? The market can probably smell this gap down here and is really trying to get down there. What's up, Tommy? The handrail came out good. Yeah, kind of a pain in the ass, but came out nice and strong. So no complaints. We got a weak spot up here at that 34 level. So if they get above this volume, look for them to target that 34, and that should be the re-offer level around this 34 to 36 level. Yeah, the tempo is getting slower and slower as we get closer to these lows, and we're not really seeing a huge volume push down. Big lot order traded 37 quarter, or no, 37.29, 118 lots. So it's at 29 level that big order just came through. So buyers trying to make a stand and sellers trying to move down to push us a little bit lower. We're not too far off from this gap down here, so that's definitely the target as of now. Had two plans: short the 41 quarter, break the fade. The 35-40 area held, got 10 points of the short, didn't trust the fade and hesitated, so skipped it. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Nice 10-point move. There's the break. Sellers still trying to move down. 33 lots, 43 lots, 69, 89, 91, 120, 124, 130, 145. Triple Q's getting right to this 0 gamma level as well. US dollar is making a fresh 19-year high right now. Take a look around the market. Oil's down 5%, ES is down 2%, gold's down 2.25%, Nasdaq's down 2%, Russell's down 2.3%, Dow's down 2%, bonds are down 0.6%, Apple's down 1.25%, AMD's down 0.8%, Amazon's down 2.25%, Meta down 3.3%, Microsoft down 2.25%, Netflix down 2.5%. Volume coming in. Remember that 29 levels where that big order traded at. So if we start to get above that 29 and start to hang, you can expect some short covering. If you're in a short, just be careful. Big bid stepping up on the 27 trying to support here. Or big bid, not big, but bigger bid. Sellers moving down. Capture it. $15 contracts traded on that low. But yeah, notice the tempo starting to fade a little bit here. And that's when, once the tempo starts to slow, especially when we're near the lows like that, that's when you've got to be careful, right? Or you got to be, kind of ready to, adjust positions. Back up to that 29 level. So above this 29 level, market starts to hang out. You're looking at, possible move back up to the 33, 36 area. And really like 33, 34 area maybe. They need to try to hold below this 29. So sellers going to have to keep coming down and offering this level down. I've got my stop still sitting at 33 right now, but if we start to hang out above this 29, I'm just going to flatten. I really like to see what this gap tastes like, but who knows? Tough here. May have some sellers here trapped at the low at this 25 area. 26 26 to 25 quarter. They're still offering this 29 here. I'm flat. I closed that short. Can't hold it any longer. I just can't hold it any longer. Flatten? Flatten is like close all my positions that are open. Like flatten your position. Like you would go back to 0, flat. Philip Braverman receives his 27 votes in second round of UK leadership election. US stocks are down 2%. Crazy there. Might have closed that short a little bit too. Sellers getting down. There they go. Couple more. Yeah, so I closed my position a little bit too soon right there, but you know that happens. Triptone, what's up, man? How's it going? Long time no chat. Notice the rebound on the move off of these lows. So when we're seeing these things make fresh lows like this, we're looking at the tick, right? Tick is also making on fresh lows, and as it came back up to where volume was at, came right back down. So that's letting us know that these offers are still willing to move down to sell this level, and that's that 29 level. Still getting some volume down here. Haven't had the panic set in yet. QQQ across the gamma. Yes, it's right on there. It's right below it. So this is a key level to see if we're going to get sellers that are going to move down and these market makers are going to start selling the triple Q. Gordon. Hey. You know you're not supposed to be in here? Oh, old dog this morning, huh? Okay. Gordon, come on, get out. So the market rebounds back up to that 29 level. This is where we can kind of expect some possible short covering to maybe show its ugly face. Unless these sellers willing to sell it again. This will be the second time that they've had the opportunity to sell this level. When they did, they were successful last time pushing the market a little bit lower. Still did get some volume down here. We can see these 2,000 lots traded down there, but not really anything too crazy. We'll notice as the market comes down, if they get below that 25, we should get some more downside. If not, then probably be targeting that 33.5 looks like the weak spot to me, to the upside. Pretty decent size order, 37.29 quarter, 119 lots traded on the offer. Man, RIP oil. I was in a short since 95.73, but my 200 tick trailing stop got closed like 94.5. Good job, bro. Still a battle on this 29. You going down Collins? Oh. So watch the 33 here. That's kind of the weak spot on my chart.
Hey, did you ever talk to or hear from the guy that was doing that 10K challenge and he did those really great videos? In the beginning, I can't think of his name. He made a lot of really good videos.
I'm not sure. Are you talking about Chappie? Chappie's crypto? Our Australian mate? Natural gas storage number in 15 minutes. This can be a big number, but probably going to affect England a little bit more than us, and or Germany and France as well, with their natural gas storage getting depleted.
Oh, Chappie.
Yeah, Chappie's crypto. Yeah, he's still in the Discord, and he's still he posts videos and stuff still. He posted a video the other day. I watched it. "13 minutes until the B period or till C period opens up." Let me look at the volume so far in that first A period here. So the volume is actually 3% less than yesterday. Kind of alluding to that this might just be laggard sellers. It's kind of what's making me be so tight today, to be honest. I'm just, not holding on to these positions very long, and that's kind of the reason is, I think that we are going to get a lot of early on late or laggard selling, as Jim Dalton would call it. And typically when that happens, you get a lot of short covering like we had yesterday. Not necessarily saying that it's going to happen. It's just today I'm going to be very patient when I get in my positions. Really going to pick my spots. And honestly, if it's not going my way quickly, I'm going to be out. So they pop above that 29, and what did they come up to? Maybe like 30, 31 barely. Starting to see a lot of bids show up down here, though. Maybe one more fucking swoop to the downside, touch that gap, and then the move. Offers are still trying to hold, though. And look at the triple Q just basically hanging out right on its zero gamma level. Let's take a peek at Apple. Apple's still just kind of sitting inside yesterday's range. AMD has broken down into the lower distribution of yesterday's range. Amazon, same idea. Meta getting just completely crushed, getting, back below its zero gamma level. So we've got these sellers coming in on Facebook or Meta and pushing it down, coming back up to a lower gamma level. Microsoft has been getting just the crush of crushes, even though with the good news, and Netflix is back into its lower distribution of yesterday. Sellers offering this 25 now. Remember I said there were some people that were short trapped at this 25. It looks like they're trying to come down here and push it down below. Struggling. Decent buying coming in on that 25.75, 26 level there. Someone just sitting right on the tick. And look at the breadth. Remember 15 when we started off, 22 now, 4-1 on the NASDAQ. You know, this is kind of telling us, you know, might not be the best time to be getting long. We might just be patient and wait for some of these shorts to set up, even if there is a nice little bounce to the upside. Weak spot above 29 is 33. That's where you can expect some possible stops to be hiding at. Tick trying to get above 0 here for the first time. These sellers really want that they want that 29 level. So still, I think sellers trapped on that 25. They tried to reoffer it when they got back down there again, and so that's going to be their target again. You know, if they are able to hold this 33, 34 level. Weak spot 33.75 here. Top of that 33.75, you'll probably get short covering and probably get above that B high. Exactly, Tommy. Yeah, gamma is what that guy Brent Kabucha speculates in, right? Could you explain briefly? So I'm not an expert on it, but basically, you know, the dumbed down version, and I'll pull up Brett's page on YouTube real quick, just so you guys can get a little bit of insight. Spot Gamma. So if you go to Spot Gamma on YouTube, he has a ton of videos. This is going to be the guy that you want to learn it from. Like I said, I'm not an expert about it, but basically when I've dumbed it down to understand it for myself, when we have our 0 gamma levels, which on my chart, they look like a thicker red line, and there's a green line in between this red line. It's just a little bit hard to see, but you can tell the difference between this red line and then there's a green line up here. So at a 0 gamma level, basically markets are fully hedged, or market makers are fully hedged, meaning that they don't really have to do anything to pick direction, right? And remember that typically market makers are double long, right? They buy calls and sell puts, right? And when you sell a put, even that means going long. I know it can be confusing, and if you're not really inverse in the options world, you know, that's going to be something that you're going to have to do some research on, because I'm just not an expert on it, and I don't want to confuse anybody when it comes to things like that. But basically, if it gets below 0 gamma, market makers have to sell whatever the, you know, indice, stock, whatever it is, in order to hedge against the puts that they've sold. So they've sold 280 puts, but if the market gets below 280, well, people that bought the puts for lower are now going to be in the money, so they're going to be owing money. So they're going to have to short that stock, indice, future, whatever it is, to hedge against that position. And then same idea. If they start to get below these negative gamma levels, they're going to be selling even more. And then it's actually the opposite on the upside. So if we get above 285, we're above these call levels. They're long these calls, so they start buying the stock, indice, index, whatever it is, to continue the price to close those options in the money. And that's my, fucking, what's that show? With the puppets? Sesame Street explanation. So like I said, go to Spot Gamma on YouTube. That guy Brent Kabucha is, if I hope I'm not butchering his name. I probably am. He's an expert at it, and that's who I've learned all about Gamma from. I've watched a lot of the videos on his channel. He actually just had a really interesting conversation yesterday with a guy that's been in the market for a decent amount of time, and he had a very interesting point of view. It's about an hour long, but very interesting watch. I actually watched it this morning when I was working out. So 4 minutes left until the C period opens up. Morning, Joe. Remember that weak spot is 34 or 33.75, I said, right? Yeah, 33.75. Above this level, I think that we're probably going to take this B high here. There we go. Does that help, Tommy? I know it's not the best explanation, but yeah. The target here is going to be that half back, probably that 40 level. If you remember, that's where they offered from before, that 40 level. If they're not able to take that B high, we could get this, could get continuation down. That's where I think they're going to be going up to. Double R, what's up, bro? Yeah, I just don't want to butcher it, you know what I mean? Like, he just does such a good job at explaining it, and I know if, for some reason, when it comes to options, I have a really good ability to understand it, but when it comes to explaining, it's not like futures for me. Like, I don't have a very articulate way when it comes to, like, the gamma hedges and stuff like that. I'm updating them every day, yeah, Tommy. I will show you how. But I only know how to do it for Thinkorswim. And I found it on thinkscript.com. There was a person that kind of does all the math and then posts the math every single day. So I just copy his math and then put it in. So I am doing the trusting of an outside source, but it makes sense to me. I would like to get on Brett's page, right, from Spot Gamma, and see I guess just a more trustworthy thing, but his subscription is like $275 a month, and maybe if I traded more options, then it might be worth it for me, but because I just don't see the need for it, and then it can just be kind of overwhelming. But there is some pretty cool tools, and there is a free 7-day trial to his website on spotgamma.com. So, that would be something to check out if you haven't before. Can Gamma also be applied to BTC? I don't know, because Gamma is mostly tied to the options market, and there's not really a lot of options on the crypto futures. Not really a lot of options traded on the crypto futures, I should say, because the crypto futures are relatively new and expensive. Yep, no problem. A little bit of backfilling right there. They couldn't get the market back below 29 after giving it up. So the longer we hang out up here above this 33 3/4, go C period, see what we get. Look at the breath is starting to cool off a bit. We are starting to get some higher highs in the tick, almost getting, right up to the top of this previous level on the tick. If C period does take that B high, that just gives us an early cessation of one time framing, meaning that the market will probably become rotational. So far, when we're looking at the profile, when I'm looking at the profile, right, I'm seeing a lowercase b shape, which is an indication of liquidation and not necessarily longer term selling. And remember, this gap, even though the liquidity is down here, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to go down there, because we're below the levels and gaps are excess. So when we get into excess, which is this B low, when we get into excess, we kind of expect the market to be responsive. So from this B half back all the way down to the lower of our gap can act as excess. And if there's responsive longer term buying at excess and short term selling, that can be a bad recipe for sellers, which is why on the shorts today we have to be very decisive on our entries.
And why is the gap excess?
What'd you say? Why is the gap excess?
Yeah.
That's just the rules of the market profile. So if you think about it, let me make this bigger. So if we think about it here, we have excess, which basically is showing a price probe into lower levels. We had that gap up, the market came down, didn't repair the gap, and that tells us that there's responsive buying inside here, right? And that's what brings it back up. And so one of the key things is we're always looking for is excess and balance. And so yeah, tails, that's how tails are made, exactly. So when you're thinking about that, when you're thinking about these tails, right, this is that buying tail and then the selling tail up at the top, right? So we have a lot of excess on the top today and decent excess on the bottom. When this happens, it's showing that responsivity, I think that's the word, from the opposite side, right? And that is just an indication of support, or if it's above resistance, right? In this case, it's going to be support, should act as support. Not necessarily saying that it's going to, it's just there's higher odds when we have excess or we're inside of a gap that we're going to see, a responsive buyer. And what we're trying to track is that inventory. So there goes that B high. This thing's starting to go. This is what we were kind of expecting, right? They failed a couple of times, and then here they are blowing it. And then where did we go right up to? The 40 right there, right? Which is exactly where we talked about where the offer was at. So, very mechanical market this morning, which is also an indication of shorter term time frame traders. So if we have shorter term time frame traders buying or selling, right off of the half back, and we have bigger money being responsive and patient down here in the gap and the excess, we've got to be extremely patient and pick our spots, right? That's why I said when I close that trade at 29, I don't want to get short until we get back up to that 40. Gaps and excess and balance are pretty much the three things that you should try to become an expert in and just understand the inventory transition or the inventory placement of how it goes on throughout the day. TJ said, looking for it to come down a little, hold below, and fade up. Boom. Gun show. Nice trade, bro. Nice trade. Came right down to that 29. Buyers stepped up. They ripped it up, ran those stops. Right up to the 40. And here we are, back down. So now we'll look to see if responsive buyers are going to step up here. So that you had an initial short covering, right? Because they met some responsive buyers down here on the 29. The target is going to be below this 29 to see if sellers are willing to move down. And then you'll be looking for responsive sellers or paying attention to responsive sellers. So TJ and I actually kind of took opposite trades there because I was waiting up near the 40 to get short. He was waiting at the C low to get long. Basically, he brought up his position, handed it to me, and then I brought it back down, right? And there's just, there's opportunity on both sides of the market. It just matters of staying patient and getting in the right positions. You don't want to get into that trap where you are right and wrong at the same time, which happens to a lot of shorter term time frame traders because they're not paying attention to the big picture, right? And so on a day like today, where we're seeing a little bit lower volume and we're seeing some very mechanical levels get set in early, right? We know that going or shorting a breakout is probably going to be a little bit tougher. The reason I've been kind of sticking with the short side is because we were unable to fill that gap on the upside, and gap rules tell us to go with gaps. I enter typically with limit orders. I mean, typically, like, so if I'm buying, I'm trying to buy the bid. If I'm selling, I'm trying to sell the ask. So I'm trying to enter passively. But, every order is a market order. Technically.
So can you say it again? You're buying the bid and selling the ask, and you're just doing like one tick above and one tick below, or what?
No, so like if I'm getting into a long, I'm trying to buy the bid. If I'm getting into a short, I'm trying to sell the ask. So it's just a passive way to enter the market. Right? Whereas if I were to sell the bid, that would be aggressive. That would be selling into the bid. I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to get filled, and then, pushing with the market if the market's going down. Or if I'm buying the ask, I'm trying to ride them at that momentum.
Okay, you're doing the opposite of what I was thinking then. So
I'm passively entering the market on most trades. Yeah.
you're just taking that little bit of a loss right there to guarantee you get in.
No.
Yeah.
So no. So here's how this works. So this is the ask, right? Here's the spread in the middle, and here's the bid. So in order to get into the market, if I want to guarantee that I get into the market, I have to buy the ask. But if I'm buying the bid, I'm going to let a seller move down to sell to me, right? And then the same thing vice versa. If I'm selling the ask, I'm letting a buyer try to move up and buy my position from me. So that's passive, right? And if we were to do the opposite, if I were to sell the bid, I would be moving down from my offer position and selling into the bid. I'm being aggressive. So I'm giving up the spread. So when you're selling the ask or when you're selling the bid or buying the ask, you're being the aggressor, and that's what's giving up those ticks. Basically, one tick in this market because of the liquidity is very high. Some markets the spread is gonna be a bit bigger, right? Especially in stocks and stuff, the spreads can be a little bit bigger. But for me, that $12.50 is worth waiting for. I'm just being patient waiting for it. And, even being passive, right? If you're passively entering off of this half back, like some of these people are right here, that's not necessarily saying that it's going to just bounce off of your level and go up, right? Because my size is not, anything to write home about. So, I definitely could take some heat, but I'm not giving anything up that way. Whereas if I were to be aggressive and force my way into the market, I am giving up a tick for sure. And sometimes more depending upon how it goes. My dad's finished for the day. Nice. Another car payment down. Pretty soon, my dad's going to be quitting his job. He likes it too much. Helps not get a bad fill. Love that trick instead of market orders. Yeah, exactly. It's much easier just to remain patient and let that trade come to you. Market coming right back up to the VWAP here. This VWAP's at like 36.5. We're still, buyers still going to need to get above that 40 and establish above that 40. That's where the offer's been at. The market's opened. I wanted to look at the volume real quick for B period. About 2% less, so nothing really crazy. Yeah, Thomas, and that's the thing is with crypto, you almost had to go market, because if not, you're just going to miss the move, especially a lot of these Bitcoin moves. You know, you'd completely just fan on them. You'd be in the perfect position and the market would come right over you and the market maker's like, no, thank you. I will not fill you. And then, the market will just go right in your direction and you'll just be sitting there staring at your computer pissed, right? A lot of times in crypto, you would have to market in, and that was a gigantic pain in the ass. Oh, we haven't seen in a while. We haven't seen Jamie in here in a while. I want to reach out to her on Discord and make sure she's doing all right. Right, right. And so when I'm trading futures, right? If I am, looking at the market and I think, okay, I need to get in, and it's not coming all the way up to my thought spot where I wanted to get filled, yeah, I'll drag my resting order over price to just get filled at the market. If I see what I need to see, right? Not necessarily saying that I do that all the time, and typically most of the times I don't, but sometimes. That C high is mechanical, selling right off the 40. So glad you introduced us to the ES. To us crypto people, you can make so much more just from saving on fees. Yeah. Yeah, and especially when the volatility in crypto moves down, right? There's always opportunity to make money with crypto when there's good volatility, but with what's going on right now, I just think it's kind of too hot to touch. Almost always have to market in exchanges with smaller exchanges, definitely. Missing the fill costs more than the market fee, for real, sometimes, yeah. And I mean, I had huge issues with Binance originally because that's what was happening. I was getting in like almost, not perfect positions, but getting in the right spots where I wanted to enter and just having the market maker not fill me. And it, it just there's just nobody to call and be like, "Hey, what the fuck's wrong with you guys? I don't want to have you guys as a broker if you're not going to be giving me good fills or just purely passing up my fill." Especially when I've been resting there for a while, so I know I'm not in the last line. Really grateful you explain and answer all the questions. Yeah, Thomas. Yeah, I actually, this is, the more questions, the better. Honestly, I really enjoy, um, you know, answering questions. Yeah, sometimes it's $80. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing that sucked is like, as soon as you get in a trade, you're down $80, and you're like, damn, almost need it to go your way because if you don't, just getting in, even break even is still a loss. When here, in the futures market, if you break even, you're really just losing the commission. So it's really not too much of a bad 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 deal, I guess. Yeah, that's what used to piss me off, Kevin, is that I would see other orders get filled on the same level that I was on, and for some reason I didn't. The goal is to drill bad positions to the point where no more bad positions exist. Works for the same in trading. Yeah, I mean, it really does. And that's the thing is like, you've got to take every trade as a learning experience, not as a win or loss, right? Because like I've always said, there is trades that make money that weren't good trades, and there's trades that lose money that weren't bad trades. And you've got to be able to learn from all of those experiences. Being a little bit of a bid step up on the 30 here. Market peaked above the VWAP twice. We still have about 13 minutes until this next session opens up.
So is a 30 minute is a 30-minute chart pretty universal with all trading all traders?
I would assume for short-term traders that a 30-minute chart is definitely on their screen. I know some people prefer an hour chart to the 30-minute chart. But the TPO, anyone that trades the TPO is trading a 30-minute chart. And the reason that we use this 30-minute chart in the TPO is because it lets us track inventory, right? So like I said, we saw that inventory come in on the 29, saw some sellers get trapped down on the 25, inventory corrected, came right back up to the 40, which is where the offer was at, brought it back down into value. So until there's demand above the 40 or offering below the 37.25, the market will probably just be rotational, right? And then, I know Jim doesn't really do initial balance anymore, but we are still within that initial balance, and we've got 24 to 58, which is, here we go, Tommy, about a 35-point range. Welcome back. And it's kind of expected, like we talked about during the pre-market, we kind of expected this to happen, this smaller range until the market, gets some better news or some more news, more information, which is normally what the market is searching for. Back at the VWAP here, 36 quarter, 36 half. once you actually understood inventory and supply, it changed the game. Yeah, it does. And the thing is, TJ, it's such a hard thing to articulate and such a hard thing to explain. Um, and everyone kind of has a different way to explain it, and that can be confusing sometimes. But, you know, once it does click, it makes you very patient because you're like, well, I'm not buying it here. It's fucking peanut butter's too expensive, right? If you're in Spain, you're not paying $8 for peanut butter. You're like, fuck peanut butter, right? Get some Nutella. Just have a Nutella and jelly sandwich. Um, but then, when peanut butter drops down to $1.25, you're like, oh shit, let me get the big one. It's cheap, right? And as an adult, typically when you're grocery shopping, those are things that you'll notice, right? Big things that I've noticed, especially when I go to the grocery store, is like cereal. It's super expensive now, because of all the wheat shortages, and I used quotations there. I kind of think that's bullshit, but it's it it's just like once it clicks, you're like, oh shit, I got it, and that's the thing is like it really just takes that. Thomas said, but how do you know that it was shorts that got trapped? Is there a color or profile that you're looking at delta? No, 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 no. It's so I do have a bid and ask profile on my DOM. Let me detach it again real quick. Okay, so I do have this bid and ask profile, but I'm not a big follower of Delta or big believer in Delta. And the reason is because, like I said, if I'm a buyer, but I'm buying on the bid, guess what? That's going to show up as negative Delta, even though I'm buying. And so there's so many ways to hide your position if you're a bigger player. And that's what they're going to do because they don't want you to catch on to what they're doing, right? And so I don't really follow Delta. The reason I just assume that it was sellers is because you see volume come in right here on this 25, and it's about even, right? 1300 to 1200. So they're going back and forth, but we didn't get any price extension. And look right here, 450 to 220. So, fairly close to even, but no extension. And then only 47 contracts trade on that low. And we had one seller here trade on the low. So this order is telling us orders that trade on the bid, and these are orders that trade on the ask. And these are executed orders. And that's showing to me, when I see that, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's probably trapped unless we trade back through it. And so I'm not really looking at, there's no concrete evidence, right? I don't know for sure. It's just what I am perceiving to be a trap seller down there. And I could be 100% wrong, right? It could have just been a buyer just, soaking it all up. I mean, regardless, it's really just the way that you look at it. If there is no supply, why would you want to sell? Exactly. And if there's a lot of supply, prices will come down. So don't be a buyer. Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Dr. VJ said, I don't know why JD doesn't do initial balance. However, many of my friends find it invaluable. Besides, JD is a better options trader than ES trader. Definitely true, JD. Or Dr. VJ. Yeah, he almost exclusively trades options. He doesn't trade a lot of futures contracts. So we finally clean up that 40 there, right? We talked about mechanical high. So a nice little break off to the upside. The next weak spot that we have, or next offer spot, probably that 49 level, which is right at the open. We're getting a little bit of selling off the Globex low here. Evan said, I don't have a grasp of it yet, but I feel like you should. It just takes time, and everybody takes time a little bit differently. And it's something that you can put in the time and work it. Like, have you ever read Markets in Profile? Right? There's a good explanation in there about inventory and inventory imbalances. The Euro close, I think the Euro closes in an hour. Time is it? It's 10:54. Oh yeah, the euro closed in a half hour, like 35 minutes. That Dom is on Sierra Charts. It's called Markets in Profile. It's one of Jim Dalton's books. It's not on Audible, unfortunately. But it wouldn't do it justice if it was on Audible, and it'd probably be extremely hard to understand because it's not really there's a lot of, picture evidence that you to in order to grasp the concept. The book is called Markets in Profile, and it's by Jim Dalton. Inventory's up at that, or not inventory, supplies up at that 50 here. So if they don't offer here, you probably get some scared traders. Try to squeeze it back above that open. Sierra Charts, yeah, that's the one. If you really want to understand how supply and demand works, type in MIT supply and demand into YouTube, and it will pull up a bunch of videos that are, extremely helpful, not necessarily pertaining to the market. You can type in MIT economics, and there's so here's like an introduction to supply and demand, and then as it goes on, you just find number 2, and then so on and so forth. You can see I'm on number 9, and it starts to get a little bit more in depth, and it's not necessarily talking about the market or this market, but it does talk about how supply and demand works in economics, and that can kind of help you get the grasp of supply and demand if you are struggling. A cat outside. Market coming back down to that VWAP. That C high looks to be mechanical sold right off that A half back, combined with a little bit of selling that we saw come in right off that Globex low. So I don't think that's really going to hold too much. The key will be if the market stays above or below 40 here. And the weak spot looks to be at like 43.25. Market bouncing right off the VWAP here. Two minutes until this next period opens up. Yeah, and if you guys want the template for the DOM, just let me know and I'll post it in the Discord. But I would recommend setting up your DOM a way that speaks to you. Because if you set it up like mine, the patterns that I'm recognizing or the things that I'm used to seeing, you might not recognize or might not, resonate with you. Kind of drive me fucking mental. So I just leave it like that. Remember, weak spot up here is that 43.25. Sellers want to keep it below the 40. So really the 40 level is going to be the level that we want to keep an eye on here. Warden. Prepare for him some barking. Tell me that sounds like a horrible advice if I'm reading that. Like failing so much, a win, all that's left. No, that's more of just understanding the process is really kind of what Tommy's talking about. Yay. Yeah. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. So a nice little move there, kind of what we were expecting. See if they hold it above that 40 target here. Like I said, is going to be that open for these buyers. Let me take a peek at the volume in the last session. And the volume in the last session was 6%, almost 7% less. Let's take a look at the breadth. Really cooling off here, 13 to 1. You can see the tick getting sold off a little bit, so nothing too crazy. And you can see the weighted sectors really kind of picking up here. Nothing flipping to green yet, but still some bounce in there. Apple's back above its zero gamma as well. Fed Waller speaks in 10 seconds. Yeah, so let's see. Do you guys want to listen to Fed Waller, or should we just keep chilling? I have Twitter up, so if he says anything important, it'll pop up. That's up to you guys. Want me to pull him up? I can definitely pull him up. So back down to the 40 here. This is where we're kind of expecting buyers to try to show up if they're going to be, wanting to get above that open. And this is the VWAP sitting here at about 36.5. Click buy bid around 37.35 and missed it. Damn. I could pull him up. We'll just watch him actually. Let's see if Josh is watching it. Where is sellers are trapped right here. Careful for a rip to the upside here. If they don't hold it below this 40, this thing might just rally up to the open quick. I don't see Fed Waller a link to his live stream. If you guys see it, just post it and I'll click it. Yeah, not really seeing it here yet. Hey, buddy. Okay, how many games? I don't want you to have too many games on there. Okay, so What other game do you have on? Not to. What happened to that marble game? You didn't play it? Oh, it wasn't very fun.
No, it was.
Okay. Fed Waller said 75-point basis hike would lift rates to neutral level. 75 basis points hike is his July base case, would lean towards larger July hike if data warranted. Oh. So the seller's really trying to offer this 40 level and just not having a ton of success. A target on the upside is going to be the open for these buyers. Really still seeing some mechanical selling off of this Globex low. Grandpa Haven said good morning. I don't know if you heard him, but he said good morning to you too. Geez, I'm trying to buy some of my friend's gluten breakfast stuff. I guess the flavor is in the gluten. Yeah, bro. Definitely true. What is interesting today, though, is that we are seeing a really negative breadth, but when you look at the advanced decline, it's not really too crazy. If you maximize this, and let's look at this on um, a bigger picture here, right? This is getting to, some of these same levels that we saw back in June 13th when we made that low. So really kind of an oversold look there. So like I said, they're unable to hold that 40. Their target's going to be that 50 level, the open. That's where there's been an offer sitting on the 50, the 50 and the 60. 50 before the mark, or 60 before the market opened, and then they moved down to try to sell this 50. Remember, inventory is still 100% short, and we do have a small gap above, still unable to reach the prior day high or prior day low off of that initial auction. Fed Waller not really saying anything too interesting. Curtis? The park. So there's the open. The buyers have achieved their target here. Expect some selling and possible profit taking here. If they don't show up, like I said, that offer's been sitting on the 60 pretty much all day. And that's going to be that next target to the upside for these buyers to close that gap up at the 60 half. Curtis, you could stay here with me, pal. Yeah. All right. Looking for buyers to step up here and take us up above the open. We do see some profit taking up here. No real push back yet, though. See if sellers are willing to start offering this level, if they're going to be patient, wait for us to get back up to that 60 level. And that's what it kind of looks like. They're going to wait.
What?
I said you're going
No.
to stay with me. I don't mind. Where's Nora?
Auntie's.
Oh, Colleen's back. Oh, okay. No. Maybe kick the chair out of that girl that's working at Lids, being fucking lazy bitch. Yeah. That's girl. So profit taking right there above on that 51, and we're coming back to do backfilling here. Weak spot 47.5 right here where we're at. So this is a spot where you look for initiated buying to come in. Market will come back up above the open, and you'll start to see the panic set in from these short sellers from Globex, start to get that inventory correction. Remember, the euro closes in 17 minutes, so that could cause quite a bit of a reaction here. Okay. Love you. Sell Iceberg on the 51. He did 525 so far, still there. He moved up 3 times. Yeah, I don't know if that's a real seller, to be honest with you. Oh, okay, never mind. I see right there on the 51. Yeah. I think that's that's mechanical. I think those are weak traders selling the open, just kind of around the open right there. But I definitely could be wrong. If buyers don't really step up here, probably target down is going to be that 40, and then we're going to become range bound again. But we are, doing a little bit of a balance stance higher, where it was from that 29 to 34 level. Now it's kind of that 50 to 40 level. So we are at least balancing a little bit higher and looking for buyers to initiate at these higher prices. But if they're unwilling, remember, we still have a gap and the market's unable to close that gap. So you can't lose sight of what's actually going on. That's what I think, TJ. I think it's longs taking profit up there above the open. And we could both be right. There could be a seller up there. We do have a mechanical D low, right? So could be a seller up here combined with people taking profit, give us that double negative. And in the market, double negative doesn't equal a positive all the time. Sometimes it does, and that's the crazy thing about the market, is it's forever changing. And so sometimes a squared equals b squared, but sometimes a squared equals c squared plus b squared minus a squared. It's different every single day. It's up to us to use our magical decoder ring that we found in the box of Cracker Jacks and this code or decode the information in front of us. And that's what, Jim Dalton's always talking about, maintaining perspective, because a lot of times it's easy to lose focus. And you can see we're one time framing up off the low with decent excess from that low. That's kind of what's making me lean above that level. Fed Waller says soft landing is very plausible based on the strong labor market, backs further rate hikes until significant moderation in core prices is seen. Fed Waller's recent job numbers are amazing figures. Apple and Major League Baseball today announced that August 2022 Friday Night Baseball schedule on Apple TV. It'll push back down to the 40. And the VWAP is slightly increasing. It's sitting up at about like 37.5 now. If that iceberg stays, usually when it gets hit, they lean on it and it pops. Yeah, to the upside. But we just saw a seller move down right there and start selling this 45. So that could be the same guy getting, trying to hold price a little bit lower. And like I said, he might be this guy that's trapped, because I think there's probably a decent amount of shorts that are trapped under the 40. Just looking at the structure of it here, because we had a lot of mechanical selling off that half back and that previous low, or that Globex low, excuse me, which is about this 42 level. I think there's some inventory trapped down here. They're starting to get their fucking dick squeezed. Big offer coming in up at the 60 again. 346 lots, looks like. Furniture Minecraft? So look to see if that seller's gonna flip. He did. He flipped. So I fucking knew it, that son of a gun. Short term, that was a short term seller selling that 50, and look where the bid's at now. 50 quarter. So there was an offer on the 50. We broke above the 50 again. And look, there he goes. Now he's out. So inventory just got corrected right there. That's what that was. In case anyone was in any doubt. That was an inventory rebalance. And so now, above this 50, there's opportunity. Buyer's struggling a little bit. Okay. Me too. Seller's getting scared right here on this 50, it looks like. That offer that was on the 60 is kind of still sitting there. 350. Could you please, where did you see that on your charts? So, it was just on the DOM. Here, I'll detach it again. Detach. So, on the DOM here, what I saw is on the 50, right? You had this big offer just kind of sitting there. It came up, it hit it, it came up, it hit it, and that offer had been sitting there for a while. And then as soon as we popped it that second time, that offer went from being here to moving to the bid and being here. And so basically what that is a shorter term time frame trader selling the open initially, and then after the open got popped, willing to move out of the way, jump to the bid to try to capture the other side. And that's the thing that gets a lot of people in trouble is when you are doing shorter term time frame trades, the big difference or in between a scalper and you know, like a normal retail trader, the big difference is these people are willing to flip like that and willing to just take a loss and flip to the other side, understanding that they were wrong in the position and move on to the next trade. Whereas a lot of retail traders get stuck with the mindset like, no, it's gonna come back, I'm right, and that's what happens. You know, and similar to, you know, what's happening here with these shorter term time frame traders, like we talked about this morning, they got so focused on the downside and they got a little bit too short too early, and now we're one time framing off the low, correcting that inventory. I think that was a nice inventory correction from that. So that seller that was kind of trapped below down here decided that at 50 he was going to just say, you know what, I'm done selling the 50, I'm just going to buy the 50, and started buying the 50. So that position that was down here is probably given up, and that person, shorter term time frame trader, is probably long now. And this is why, because the market's going up. I can show you the world. We're looking to close this gap. Come market, just give me that 60-50. Yeah, 1,000 points again. 1,000 lots again. Yeah, I saw that.
It's a good thing that your career isn't singing. I'm just gonna say that.
Damn. Just fucking hurt my feelings.
Just kidding. You actually have a decent singing voice, just saying.
So unable to close the gap once again right there. Just one tick shy of it. People front running that previous day low. For sure, Patrick. We'll catch you later, man. Zay, beautiful. A buyer hit the iceberg same time with that 700 buy. Yeah, and so we definitely saw that offer that's sitting on the 60 move down a little bit and chase the price down. But you know, if they're not able to get really back below that 50, we're gonna be balancing higher here. So we went from balancing 40 to 50. Now we're gonna be balancing 50 to 60. And right now, to me, it just looks like the market's doing a little bit of backfilling, and with the market's really not getting below this 53 quarter. If it doesn't get back below this 53 quarter, and buyers continue to move up and fill in this weak volume, you know, probably to the upside. I kill 50 men, Cotton Hill. Looks like a little bit of profit taking right here. These longs are starting to get a little bit scared. It doesn't really look like any sellers are really willing to move down too much. $37.52.75 had 360 lot order that traded. I missed that one. Just see it right now. Another iceberg sell on the 55. You said. Showing 25 might be big again. 22% on your first trade. Way to start. Hell yeah, good stuff. So seller absorbing right here on the 55. He jumps out of the way. They're going to be looking to close the gap on this move up here. Failure to close the gap again on this move to the high. Yeah, pretty weak. So far. Curtis, what are you playing? Racing? What card do you have? Let me see. Let me see. Uh-oh. I have my stop right here at 51.75. So if we get back down to that level, I'm just gonna call it. We're still popping up on that 60. Look at Apple break it out to the upside. It's gonna draw the market up. Should at least. Basically, Apple's telling the rest of the market, you guys all suck. Oh, that's a cool car. And if we take a look around the block, Apple is positive about 0.3, AMD still down about 0.6, Amazon down 1%, Meta down 2.8, Microsoft down 0.8, Netflix down 0.63, Tesla down 1%. The VIX is actually up, but just up from the cash open. It's actually down from yesterday's close. Not really seeing any sector movements, but we do have information technology, healthcare, industrials, energy, staples, utilities, real estate, all green from the open. E-periods opening up. Let's see if they can repair this poor high and close this gap here to the upside. volume. Showing 25 might be bid again. Only did 503. Yeah, so I'm watching this 51.75 level. I think a break below that will probably get a little bit more downside and check back maybe around that 37.48 level. 6% less volume in that last session. Sellers starting to get a little bit nervous and cover their positions here though. Can you remind me what the triangles on the tick represent? Yeah, so these triangles above the tick and below the tick are just telling us if they closed above the zero line or below the zero line. So when we see a lot of negative ticks, that's just telling us that, you know, a lot of selling is occurring around the median. It's a little bit deceiving today, which is kind of, you know, why we, you know, we're always tracking inventory and we don't want to rely specifically on one thing to tell us what way to go. But we can see on the tick, at least we've been making higher lows, showing, even though we're not necessarily making higher highs, that we do have some responsive buying in the market. Yep, no problem. The weak spot on the profile right here is going to be 54.75. That's the offer level as well, 55. And so something that I've talked about before, like I said, it's not in the book, but something that I consider is I consider this area single print. So as E comes back down, if it's not able to get back down to this C high, I consider it weakness from supply or lack of supply, indicating that the market is probably going to continue to the upside. If it is, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go down or you know, any direction. It's just something that I look, and it helps me track inventory a little bit easier inside my mind instead of having to draw on my charts and, you know, do all this chaos. Like when I see some charts that are just like, holy shit, how do you pay attention to that? The weak spot below us is about 48, and then another weak spot down 44, so. Fed Waller 75 basis points should definitely happen after yesterday. Fed's Waller, Friday's retail data shows data to show level of strength in consumer spending. A good report will tell me consumer demand is still strong and we can keep tightening. So that's kind of one of those things. If we get positive news from tomorrow's consumer sentiment report, the market could go down, and if it's negative, it could go up. And because basically what Fed Waller is saying is that they'll ease the tightening if that happens. So again, like we've got to always maintain perspective, and the economy is not the market, right? And the market is not the economy. Typically, the market will find its feet before the economy does. So bad news can keep coming out, and yet the market can start to, catch a bounce. I'll be right back, guys. Right, another mechanical reference left behind so far. Right there, that E low, very mechanical off that D halfback. Remember, we have a mechanical low down here. The D low off of that C halfback, or high, still unable to close that gap. You might just be getting laggard shorts, getting trapped down here at these lows with the inability of supply to break this market lower. VWAP is starting to flatten out, and if there is a break, they probably, like I said, back down to that 40, which is going to be halfback and also happens to be the volume point of control. And in this situation, as we're getting higher price, we see, however, 4 TPOs is where value is at. Are we going to have value move up to price, or is price going to revert back down to value? If you are joining us for the first time, make sure to like and subscribe if you feel like it. And if you have not joined the Discord, put a comment in the chat and I will post the Discord link for you. We definitely would like you in there. See if we can break this high this time. We're covering right there. Seller's still active up here at that 60 level, still sitting 371 lots sitting on the 60. Market really wants to close this gap. And we've got to think about this logically, right? So we know we've got a lot of people long from the open, and if they get back inside yesterday's range, what do you think they're probably going to do? They're probably going to sell. Well, there's probably going to be a bunch of people selling the previous day's low. So this is probably why it's having such a difficult time getting back inside yesterday's range. These laggard sellers that are trying to sell based off of delayed or stale, not delayed, stale information from yesterday, right? Remember, the market has a short-term memory. It's like a goldfish. Yeah, the CPI was 9.1 yesterday, but that doesn't mean the market can't go up today. Key is to pay attention to value. Is value going to move up? So we have 20 minutes until that next TPO opens up. Remember, we are one time framing up. We've left behind 2 mechanical references indicating that there is a lack of supply for bigger time frame traders. 1 tick until the gap closes. Buyers taking profit naturally before selling into strength, right? So if you're in a long, this is where you want to take a little bit off the table. And as we break, we'll be watching for the impulse and looking for volume to follow. Volume is an indicator of success or failure in the move. So here comes the stops. I'm about to buy myself here if we don't just go. You fucking kidding me? Let's go. There we go. Okay. So watch for volume to pile in here. Here we go. Remember, overnight inventory is 100% short, so we could start to get a lot of overnight inventory starting to get squeezed out, scared, and the market could really start to rally here. One time framing, it's nice. Or at weak spots at 64. If they can't get below 64, we continue this upside. Next offer sitting up at the 60. Volume coming in, a little bit of profit taking going on here. Like I said, inside yesterday's range, they're going to become sellers. 64, buyers step up a little bit still. Sellers are still pretty nervous. But yeah, one time framing is basically just we're making consecutive higher lows, right? And taking out the previous bar's high. So here's the B low and the B high. C low doesn't take out the B low, but takes out the C high. D low doesn't take out the C low, but takes out the C high. One time framing begins. E period doesn't take out the D low, but takes out the D high. Oh, yes, let's go. What a fucking trade this is. Oh man, we're gonna just squeeze fucking overnight all the way up. Let's go. Get out of the way, little baby back. Fed just Waller said yesterday's inflation's number was not a big surprise. Fed's Waller to go above 75 basis points at next meeting. I need to assess data over the next couple of weeks. Market may have gotten ahead of itself on a 100 basis points rate hike in July. That's bullish. Weak spot on the profile, 66 now. So if it doesn't get below 66, we can probably expect to squeeze a little bit more of this inventory to the upside. Remember, that target is going to be that overnight point of control, very prominent point of control sitting here around the 88 level. Yeah, we failed right at that tick, TJ. But yeah, and basically what that's showing us, Kevin, when the market is one time framing up like that, it's just showing a lack of supply when it's one time framing to the upside, or a lack of demand when it's one time framing to the downside. So right there, we had Apple really being the leader and letting us know, giving us an early signal that the market was looking to catch some upside. AMD's almost back to flat, Amazon down 0.8, Meta down 0.73, Microsoft 0.4, Netflix almost back to flat, Tesla about 0.1% down there. Curtis. The weak spot 66 still, 66 half. Do a little bit of backfilling here. Doesn't get down there yet. You are seeing some selling start to come in and try to sell up here. There'll be a lot of profit targets. People, like I said, long from the open are going to be looking to take profit inside yesterday's range. Waller on the pricing, on the market pricing in 100 basis point rate hike on Wednesday. The market may have gotten ahead of itself a little bit yesterday, right? That's a bullish statement. U.S. Treasury 2-year yield, its session low of 3.1, last down 2.2 basis points at 3.119%. Fed Waller nightmare scenario is high unemployment and high inflation. Now that shit's coming, so get ready for your dreams to get crushed because the nightmare's on.
And hey, so when you buy on the bid and sell on the ask, you're doing the opposite on puts, right?
On what? Puts?
Yeah.
Toki Herman, thank you for the follow on Facebook. I'm not sure what you mean, like doing the opposite for that on puts. So like I would do the same thing. I'm always trying to get filled for the best price, and if you're buying the bid and selling the ask, that's going to be the best bang for your buck. Does that make sense or no?
Except, well, yeah, except for if you're buying a put, then you're essentially doing the opposite, right?
Well, if you're buying a put, you're expecting the market to go down, but you can still buy the put on the bid, right? That's why options are a little bit more confusing, because when you're longing a put, Bash, thank you for the like on the stream, bro. Thank you. You know, there's more options because you can be short puts or long puts, whereas here if you're just trading trading regular futures, you're just going to be either short or long. You're not going to be both. Or I mean, I guess you could be if you're hedging, but
right.
But typically that's just not well, I mean, I guess some people do, they hedge with futures contracts. A lot of market makers hedge with futures contracts. Your computer's right there. So
Well, I gotta think about that.
I can send you a video. Let me look on YouTube real quick and find a good one that I like to explain.
Man, I pulled out of my trade way too early. Yeah. But better safe than sorry.
Alex, are you on Sierra charts?
That's Kevin.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Kevin.
No, right now it's on a trade.
I was just going to say, if you're looking at it, then it has the buy, bid, and sell ask buttons below the market order buttons. So it just helps it make a little more sense. I can post a picture if you haven't seen.
Yeah, cool.
Here's a good video that I like. Let me open this link. It's from Tasty Trade. They have good options. I'll post it right here in Zoom, and then I'll post it in YouTube as well.
Well, can you post it on Discord?
I can post it on Discord as well, yes. I'll post it just under stocks and options.
Green ones are hard to find. I mean, the well, the gone ones.
No caffeine after 4 p.m. Pop, were you just running wild today, huh? Too much caffeine.
Yeah, I'm getting old, man. I can't have caffeine after 4 if I want to go to bed at a decent time, and I totally forgot. Just wanted a Dr. Pepper.
So hey, sometimes sometimes a Dr. Pepper is just what you need.
Yeah, but is there antifreeze in Dr. Pepper?
I'm not sure. There is. Still good.
Do you know that Elon Musk has the number one quote? I mean, the number one tweet of all time, like the most liked tweet.
Not surprised.
Yeah, and it was about that Coca-Cola should put the original ingredients back in it.
They
He
should.
got like 2 million. Well, you know, and his point was that the number one tweet only got him 2 million likes, and that there was really that many people, like, because the number one like video on YouTube gets hundreds of millions of you know, and on these other platforms on Facebook and stuff, but on Twitter, the number one of all time is only 2 million. He's saying, well, it should be, a couple hundred million, or whatever. You know what I mean? If there's really billions of people on Facebook, I mean not Facebook, Twitter. It's a good point. It's interesting to see in the court if they disclose. They'll probably do a settlement outside of court anyway.
I'm sure. Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want to. There's probably other companies that are hitting them up saying like, "Hey, if you guys disclose this bot number, we're gonna be pissed."
Right. Because that's gonna all the people that are advertising on there's profits gonna go down because now they're, you know,
It's gonna
deciding
crash
to
the
separate.
market, bro. It's a black swan that no one's paying attention to. It happened in the 70s. There was a very similar situation where a company was looking to get taken over and didn't get taken over because they had fudged the numbers. And I mean, for me, that's what I think. I think that it's gonna be the black swan. No one's paying attention to it.
Well, same thing with Enron and WorldCom, and they had Arthur Anderson as their accountant, was like the most trusted in the world. If they're your accountant, then it's good as gold, and turned out not.
Right.
And
Ronald D. Ratliff, thank you for the follow on Facebook, my man. Appreciate it. When the numbers are checked, it's gonna get real. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. It's gonna be on. I still think Elon should get in trouble because he is manipulating with the market, but he's just getting away with it. He's just like a troll that has too much money and he's just doing whatever he wants with it. And it's kind of, it's bullshit because if someone unimportant were to do that, it wouldn't matter. They would just be like, oh, jail. Believe it or not, jail. Yeah, buddy, okay.
think with that power, your spoken word.
Do I think the gap will fill, Thomas? What gap are you talking about? The gap from yesterday already did fill. Or from today, I mean. Excuse me. But the gap up to yesterday's range already did fill here. Put him in timeout. Yeah, that's all they can do. I think the same thing in Nancy Pelosi. Yeah.
And what happens if you tweet from another country? Are you still, whose laws are you bound by?
Yeah. Oh, the SPX still is holding a gap? Oh, shit. Oh, no, the gap's filled. Oh, you're talking about a settlement gap. Okay, so I measure gaps a little bit differently than a lot of people, I guess. A lot of people probably measure the gap from the settle or the close, but I measure it from the high and the low. Yeah, so for me, I don't really consider this a real gap because if we were to pop over onto a daily chart, right, you can see there is no gap. The bars touch on the daily. Well, I don't really consider it a gap, but I know some definitely do. So I don't know. Let's see if they're gonna get above that settle. Really, the key will be to see a reaction off this Globex point of control. So if you don't get a big selling off of this 3788 level, I think that we're probably gonna come up here and test that psychological number 3800 and the settle. And if we get above the settle and establish above the settle, I think there's good odds that we get back inside yesterday's range and probably look to close these single prints. I think there is a lot of short-term inventory that is short, and unless some responsive selling comes in at these higher prices, then you'll just slowly see the market keep grinding up. Your first key today so far that there is some supply in the market will be a break of some of these mechanical levels. We got about 3 minutes left, and it's looking like we're going to open up with single prints. So I don't think there's a lot of supply out in force today, and for me, there's no reason to fight that. Right? We caught a nice trade when it didn't close the gap early on. We're able to identify that trade. Me and TJ did a little passing back and forth of shorts and longs, and then hopefully TJ stayed on the long side. I switched to the long side and started catching the ride up. Yeah, no problem, Thomas. But I don't want to take anything away from people that do consider this a gap, because one of my mentors or one of the people I trust the most, Peter Resnicek, he does consider it a gap. So, but he's mostly considering it a gap on stocks, whereas futures trade 24 hours, stocks don't. And so for me, I don't really consider it a gap. Somehow it knew. Hey, math. That's good stuff. Might do some good Martha Stewart comeback stronger than ever. Yeah, definitely. Only gap we have, yeah, that one below. But the insider trading like she should have. Pop sent you a message on Discord. Does every gap eventually get filled? Technically, that's market 101. It says like that every gap eventually gets filled, but it doesn't say how long it takes to get filled. That's why we were very skeptical of this level down here and expected that responsive buying. And we could have easily been wrong, right? We could have easily just traded right through there. There's no way to know except for right now. That's why it's, I know I do put some levels on the trade view, but it really is going to depend on what's happening right there, right? The left of the chart has already happened. There's nothing you can do about that. The right side of the chart is the chart that we have to pay attention to. That's why everyone's an expert when they throw a fucking moving average on and be like, oh, look, it bounced right off the 20 moving average. Yeah, but did you fucking trade it? Like you know what I mean? And that's the thing, is like, I don't believe in any of that stuff because of that exact thing, because there's nobody just sitting there. Well, I'm going to buy the 20 EMA. Every time the market touches the 20 EMA, I'm going to buy it. Right? It's just that it just won't work. And if it did work, then we would have a perfect market, or a what do they call that? What's the word? Search through the book to find the word.
A bunch of rich assholes.
No, it's like a market.
Just kidding.
A market that is like working, like if the market was a perfect working market, here goes F period. If a market was a perfect working market, then there wouldn't be any need to trade. There wouldn't be any opportunity to trade, because there wouldn't be these things that cause these big moves. The market would just do what it's going to do, and that would be it. So
then the math models would work better, and people would
exactly, it would be easy. It would just become
easy.
It'd be easy, exactly.
And then the math models would always work, and the people who had those models would make billions of dollars. and the rest of the people would be poor.
That's how Fibonacci works, though. You know, because so many people trade on those exact levels. That's why I think it works.
Yeah, but that's because of human psychology, right?
Right.
That's why those levels work. That's why I still have a 50 and a 200 moving average on my efficient, Thomas, thank you. If the markets were truly efficient, then there would be no opportunity to trade, but the markets are not efficient. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Because most of it's based on emotion. Well, most of the actual movement of it, and the market makers are playing on everyone's emotion.
Exactly. And that's why I've always stuck to the point where if someone's found a system that works, they're not going to start selling it to you until it doesn't work anymore. And that's the thing about the TPO. I'm not in here trying to sell you a TPO. This is just a graphical representation of the auction process. And like I said, I could call out every single trade that I'm going to take, and that doesn't necessarily mean that at the end of the day, my P&L and your P&L are going to be the exact same. And that's because of the emotions and how the trades work out. I 100% stick to this, and I will never ever change it, that if you cannot understand your emotions and what is going to work for you and what's going to affect your trading, then you're never going to be successful. Right? And it's the same thing in everything that you want to do at an expert level, right? Think about players that make clutch shots and players that don't, right?
Well, you don't become an expert when everything is perfectly thrown at you.
No. Yeah. Most
Mar-
of the time,
makers are getting me right now, Brad.
I bet they are. I was actually thinking of you right now, Jared, that you were getting smacked. Too bad you should have jumped on the stream earlier. You'd been long with TJ. TJ's
You're gonna
long from
laugh.
like 40.
I was long all morning, and then I put a short on right at 37.59. I'm like, I don't think we're gonna break this top, and then it jumped up 20 points. I was like, well, that sucks.
Oopsie daisy.
Yeah, got that one wrong. But you know me, I averaged in. My average is about right here. It's almost there.
Typical degenerate.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the order flow. Exactly, TJ. It really does. It depends on the order flow that comes in. There's a trader. Well, I think he just started trading, but he's an ex-market maker named JJ, and he has a really good insight of order flow and market management. I don't think he's the best trader. He's really just scalping all the time. I've been in his live stream, and him and this other guy, they're really just trying to capture little tiny moves here, little tiny moves there, where I'm more trying to capture the move. And I'm not taking anything away from them, but I think, if you want an explanation of how inventory works, that would be a very good place to start. Let me find his YouTube channel real quick. I don't know if he has a YouTube channel, actually. You could join his Discord. It's like $39 a month or something like that. What do they call him? The Gorilla Trader? AJ.
VWAP Trader 1, I think.
There it is. VWAP Trader. Thank you. VWAP Trader. I don't see him on YouTube. There's a podcast that they do.
Twitter, he's on Twitter, and then they have that trade room thing.
They do a podcast on YouTube a lot as well. I just can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, the Secret of a Market Maker or something.
It'll probably pop up. Market.
The YouTube channel they post some of his videos on, I don't think are actually his YouTube channel. It's like someone else he's teamed up with, I think.
Yeah, it's the guy that runs the podcast. But I can't think of the channel. Here he's on Stocks to Trade on this channel. Let's see if it pulls it up on a different. Confessions of a Market Maker. There it is. Okay, so here it is. This is his thing. You'll see JJ on here a lot. He doesn't show his face, probably because he did a bunch of shady shit back in the day. But this is his thing, and JJ has a really good understanding of how inventory imbalances and corrections work, for sure. Confessions of a Market Maker, tell me. Yeah, that's the one. How about we just feed them funny brownies and maybe they just give us money? Well, it seems like today they are. All of these, laggard sellers have been just paying us. We've just been taking money off of Jared all day.
Give it back. Hey, I was long all morning, and then just this, I just got caught in this little trap right here, but it's all right. It's gonna come back.
So you're short right now?
Yeah, I'm in a short. Yeah.
And he's a degenerate, so he doesn't know how to
That
close
does
a short.
that doesn't mean fucking go long, guys. You're like, oh, he's the opposite of Jared.
Let's squeeze Jared out, guys.
You'd have a hard time. I'll take the heat. Brad knows.
I think that's the way it's supposed to work, though, is whenever you get into whatever you're in, if everyone buys the other thing, then that's what they should be doing because you're doing the wrong thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's typically how I've made actually a decent amount of money off of doing exactly the opposite of what Jared texts me. He can tell you. He's like, hey, check out this company. And I'm like, oh, okay. and I mean, normally long term, like especially with a lot of these, well, I guess not anymore, but for the time during like 2020 and after, Jared had kind of insider information on a lot of these EV companies, these car companies. And when it would start to get to that point where it would peak, that's where I would be like, oh, I'm going to short this thing. And then it would get crushed. But Jared, he's a storm weatherer, so he just holds on forever, and then it goes back up, and he's like, I was right. It's like, yeah, technically you were. But if you don't have, he's got those diamond hands.
Isn't that the phrase, even a broken clock is right twice a day?
That's Jared. Yeah.
He's trading a different time frame.
But you know what? The thing is like it is such a process, and it's hard to, it's hard to develop that improvement in. I'm just, Jared's a buddy of mine, so I like to mess with him. But he's decent at identifying, but understands that it is a marathon and not a sprint, and so it does take times to get there.
It should be clear. I get so emotional that I wrote frickin' code to do my trading.
Right. And sometimes, yeah.
I don't even do my trading because I get so emotional. So I totally get it.
Oh, it's hard to stay calm sometimes whenever you're in a bad trade, but my thing is I just try to stay calm. I'm like, you know what? It's all good. It'll be all right.
And that's a huge thing too. Like, so when you're trading, and think about this, if you trade and you have other people in the house, or you have, other people that are around you, if they can tell how your day is going, if you're having a successful day or a bad day, if you're in a winning trade or a losing trade, then you've still got some work to do in those emotions, right? That's gonna be key, and that can be a light bulb maybe for some of you. If it's affecting and you feel all irritable and you're mean or you're temperamental when you're in a losing trade, that's going to tell you that your emotions are what's causing some of this failure that you might be seeing. You're trying to understand the dynamics of the market, and I'm still at zero. It's not easy to believe in this. I'm enjoying the conversation, and it really does take time, and that's the thing. Some people pick it up quick. Some people never pick it up. Like I always say, like, just because I want to dunk a basketball doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to, right? I'm going to have to put in that time and that effort and build up that strength to be able to jump that high, right? Because I'm only 5'8", whereas Jared's 6'4". He could be a little bit lazy and probably still dunk a basketball. I know he used to be able to dunk it back in high school, but it's going to be a little bit easier for him to achieve that goal than it is for me. I'm going to have to put in a little bit hard work, and it's the same thing with the market. Some people are going to have to put in a little bit harder work than others. Watch this F coming back down to this E halfback. If we get another mechanical low on this low, you'll be looking up at that 75 level to test that liquidity again. We do have a weak spot on the profile here at the 60, that prior day low. And really, that's where sellers are going to have to be pushing it down, is below that prior day low.
We get back to 60 and I'll be chilling.
I don't know if we're gonna though.
Are you
You're
in
gonna-
short, Jared?
Oh yeah, I'm still in.
Are you the? I'm trying to remember that. I know there was one guy on here that's like the shorting king.
That's
Is that you?
James. That's
Nice
Oh,
James.
Jane.
James.
Well, it's kind of me too. I've mainly only been making money off of shorts lately, but yeah. Hey, I've been wrong.
And that's the
Based
thing
on my
about the opportunity with futures is there's opportunity on both sides because you really don't necessarily need the
Mhm.
market to move very much. But I don't recommend averaging in either.
based on my back testing, the puts usually make about 40% more than the calls.
And that's because of probably the volatility too, because typically when things go down, the IV goes up.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the case.
Within the same range, or how are you comparing the two?
So I have my bot. So I did my back testing based on my algo, and it back tests all the way till August. And it basically runs all the days that it would have played. And then it gives me a cumulative. Every time it did a call, this is the total number it would have made. Every time it did a put, this is the total number it would have made. And
Hey.
the call makes
Nope.
10K and the put makes 14K.
That's interesting.
Pop said my wife can tell how my trading went when she gets home. I try not to let it affect me, but it can still does right now. I used to have a fantastic and awful days, and now they're just good and less good. That's improvement, right? And that's all you can expect. You can't expect to just, one day you just wake up and be like, oh, I can fucking turn water into wine today. It's just,
No, what also people understand is it leaves an aura in the room. Like when you walk into a room that like two people are fighting, you can feel that energy, and so that energy will stay in the room.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree with that. That's why I always get nervous when Jared texts me later in the day. I'm like, uh-oh. I almost don't want to ask, Don't kick me while I'm down.
Yeah.
But then,
if y'all could just go short real quick.
I actually
You
took a
only get one
long
of
off
the
that
cards.
64 half, Jared, so
You did?
yeah.
Oh.
All right.
Son of a. That's okay. It's not like we were that far away from my average. I mean, my average was at 63, so could you just let it come down just a little, Brad, and I'll get out and I'll join your team.
I didn't want to miss it.
Okay, that's fair.
If you are joining us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook today for the first time, definitely shoot a comment in so we can post that link so you guys can jump in that Discord. The Discord is free. Everything's free. I know there's a lot of shit below the video. I just don't know how to change it. The website doesn't work. We took it down because I decided I didn't want to charge for anything. And join the community and introduce yourself, right? We only thing I really ask from you is to be positive and respectful. We have a community where we build each other up. We're not in the business of slamming each other down or criticizing each other unless it's constructive, right? Constructive criticism is always encouraged. I have a belief that you can learn from anyone, even the dumb people. Jared teaches me stuff all the time.
Hey, you get easy with that shit.
Easy with that shit, Doug. So there's a nice little pop.
Is that a compliment or what was that?
Yeah, I said I could learn from you. I'm just backhanded.
Okay, can we just crash real quick and then,
But yeah, I mean, if you have other ideas or other strategies that have been working for you, jump in there and let us know. We have a trader that has been using some ABCD patterns on what he refers to as shit coins and has being very profitable. He took a break for a while. I saw him yesterday actually, Leatherface Crypto, for the first time in a minute. But I used his style on a longer term ES trade and it worked out like a champion. So I definitely, we're not gonna get in there and just shut you down because you talk about Fibonacci's and we're trading the market profile. Unless you start talking about market cipher, and then I'm just gonna tell you you're a fucking idiot.
That makes me so upset, Brad. I should have got out of that trade. It
Hopefully
actually
like
did
that
come
long.
all the way. No, it came down and touched my break even. It was like right at the 63. And it was like, I was like, oh, just give me one tick. And then it was like, nah.
So I don't
Nah.
remember when it was, but I had like probably 20 contracts, and I held on for one day, and it dropped down, and it got down to like, I don't know, I was still in the red, but it was like maybe $50 in the red. But before the end of the day, I was like 300 in the red. So then I got down to like 50 or 60 in the red, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna make it, it's gonna make it. And then it jumped up to like 600 in the red, and then 800 in the red. And then I think I ended up closing the day at like 1100 in the red.
Oh,
So the first thing I learned, and this is part of the reason why I had to write code to do this trading, is because I realized that it's that whole thing that Brad has been talking about, the whole trading plan. If you're not following your trading plan, which for me, all I wanted to do was lose less. I wasn't trying to get to positive. I just wanted to lose less than $300. So I should have sold at freaking 60, and I would have been fine, because for that day, that was my trade plan. That was it. But for some effing reason, that just wasn't that I couldn't follow it. I couldn't do it. The emotion was just so high. It's going to make it. It's going to get to green. It's going to get to green. But it didn't matter. My whole goal was just to lose less than $300.
Mm.
And I ended up losing $1,100. So that's the thing is if you're not like Brad said, and he harps this every single time he closes this call, follow the trade plan. And that was my trade plan, and I just didn't do it. And that's all I would have not lost, what was it? I don't know, $1,000 or more, probably even more than that. But it was all because I got stuck in my head that I wanted it to go green.
I'm even more upset now because I didn't get out again. It just broke it on my screen for like 1 second, and then it just went back up. I was like, damn it.
Okay. It might have a little downside here if it doesn't take that FI. Got a lot of supply right there.
Yeah, that 70. I closed that on that 70, and it's looking like we still want to go back up and test it one more time. But I agree, TJ. If they don't get that, they don't get above that 70 again, then we're probably gonna try to close those singles. That flow is mechanical low again, right here on this E half back too. So this is a key here showing us that there's really a lack of supply, so far in the day. And if you think about this, and we think about psychology here, as we see, things starting to flatten out, we can think if these early initiators, right, or early adopters who are buying down here responsively, they're probably looking to add here if they're going to, right? Or people that didn't get a chance to buy down here and they were short and now they've been squeezed out, this is probably the area they're going to be looking to responsively buy below yesterday's low. So even if we do get this pushed down, and watch to see if it's going to hold below that 60 level. If we don't hold below that 60 level, we know there's liquidity sitting up here at the 75, and that's probably going to be the target. And then really, I'm kind of trying to hang in here for this 88 level and then probably call it a day. But it's about lunchtime here, and looking like about game time to me as well. So having a really good day. You're an overachiever. Oh, Uncle Stacy. A whole new world. Out to take Jared's stop loss. Jared, if we pop 75, we're gonna run straight to 88. So be careful.
Yeah, your hard out definitely needs to be 75, 76. And if you expand the overnight, you can see like the U and the V came down right there. So they had a lot of buying right there, people going long. And then when it came back down,
Yep.
when you see in sweep through like that, that's all the longs got trapped right there. Had to sell their positions. That creates the singles. Now we got this poor high right here in the same spot. That's because there's overhanging supply right there, which means people are covering right there. And then you also have the market coming up. So you have people that are short, like Jared, having to, they're getting scared buying back. So every time F comes down close to where those singles are in E, get close to their position where they're getting flat, they're buying back. So it's holding it up on the bottom right there. That's my
I
thoughts
like it.
anyway.
No, that's exactly correct. I think, I think you're dead on right there.
That sounds spot on.
The same thing, right? So basically what TJ is saying is you had buyers here, you have the seller here, supply finally came in, broke, you had liquidation. So you had longs trapped in this position, market traded, and as these longs are getting back up to their position, that's where they're covering, right? So you have buyers from below selling here, but then we also have sellers trapped here, and as the market comes back down to here, they're buying their position back, causing the market to come back up, and that's what's causing this little balance, this temporary balance that we're having right here on these overlapping single prints from the high and the low. And that's a lot of times, and that's kind of what's led me to really start to look at things like this, where I consider this single prints. It's not necessarily textbook, but just another way to look at it, to see, okay, well, if there was supply in E, we should trade back down into the C range, but we just didn't. And that's, to me, showing a lack of supply. The breadth is getting less negative now. Apple's coming, or triple Q coming down a little bit off that 285. Damn, that Netflix trade would have been pretty decent if we were patient. But though, Apple's still really the driver of the market today. If we take a peek around the block, oil's down about 2.25%, ES down 1%, gold down 1.8, Nasdaq's only down 0.6, the Russell's down 2%, the Dow about 1.1, bonds are down 0.5%, Apple's up almost 1%, AMD's down 0.1, Amazon down 1.3, Meta down 3%. They've just been getting the smack of a lifetime. Microsoft finally having a decent rebound, only down about 0.5 today. Netflix down 1% as well, and Tesla down 1.2. So as this market comes back down to this half back again, this is going to be that chance here. So these sellers, if they start to cover their position again, you can expect the response. Some keys will be if the market does not break that 3760 level that I've looked on my chart.
Market's gonna make a move. I just got out of a lot of lots right there, and even this is where it rips down, and it's like, yeah, see you later, sucker.
Aren't those the worst though? Where you're like, dang it, I could have made $3,000.
Oh yeah, I'd already been up $3,000. I had a lot of lots on.
Super common mind trap, guys, that you don't want to fall prey to. Is should-haves, could-haves, and would-haves.
Now, but Brad knows me. I'm real quick to jump on the other team. I don't care. Like right here, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna eat this up. I'm gonna go long.
And then you're gonna get in the wrong direction. It's gonna plow right through the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey Jared, let me know if you're going long so that I know what to buy.
No, you know what? You guys really should. Anytime, and this, I know Brad's gonna say this is just my psychology and I'm a narcissist or whatever it is, but I'm gonna tell you, if I go long, you guys should go short because it always instantly goes not my way. Every trade always comes back to me, but it never goes my way right away.
I'm the same. I'm the same exact way. I have the
Oh.
exact same problem.
Oh, I should have stayed in that trade. I'd have made like $4,000.
This is why I like to have a 1 minute up while I'm looking at TPO, because you can see where the poor high got put in on the 1 minute and how the sellers kept slowly moving down. So you can see like the supply over top was moving down because I'm scared.
That was too funny.
Mechanical buying off the half back here. That's just me buying, taking some ticks. So don't get it crazy. I think there's going to be, if this what does close, there might be some responsive buyers below yesterday's low, and that's what I'm waiting for them to show up so we can put some size on and take this thing back to the upside. But again, TJ, great identification of that supply that was building up top and getting a little bit heavy and bringing us back down to those levels. I don't know if you traded it or not, but still identification is the first thing, and something that in order to become an expert trader, as Jim Dalton calls it, you're going to have to master a few different skills. Decent volume coming down right there. Just so weak that it can't break this 60. It's the only reason I'm buying it.
What are you buying?
The market. I just bought the
No,
market.
are you buying a call or are you buying?
Oh, just futures. Yeah, just futures.
Are you buying the up or down? Is what I'm asking.
Oh, up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Long. Sorry, long. That's
Long.
what they call it for
Yeah, long.
futures.
Do you want me to drive this market up, Brad, for you?
So
'Cause I
there
can
goes the
short.
60. Oh, this is where we're looking for these responsive buyers to show up here. Below yesterday's low. If they show up, that's when we can start to try to go with them. If they don't show up, we want to get out of the way. Really thin spot, we're going to know on that 60 quarter. Offer moves down. Decent little spot down there. Johnny Stefan, thank you for the sub. Oh, hang on a second. Hey, did you call me? Yeah, there's like 2 half boxes there. I think yesterday when I checked last night, yeah. Yeah, there is. Just trading. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. He's just watching his computer on the couch. I saw him, yeah. Love you too. Bye.
Damn. If I had stayed in that trade, Brad, I think I would have made about 10 or 11,000.
Yeah, that's a tough, especially when you were taking so
Yeah.
much heat. If you
Yep.
were to have been patient and got it in the right spot, you probably would have caught the move.
But the only difference is I wouldn't have had on the watts I would have had on. You know what I mean? Like I averaged into that one versus I would have never had that much on up top.
Right. But the thing is when you get in the right positions, you don't need to have heavy size on to capture
Correct.
a decent profit. Remember what they say, precision beats power and timing beats speed. Conor McGregor. So watch here to see if this G is going to be able to break that prior day low, or if we're going to get a cessation of this one time framing to the upside. Volume coming in at like 1% less than yesterday in that last period, E period.
So would it be smart here, Brad? Well, what do you think? Would it be smart to like wait until it comes back down and retest the 56, 55 or something, and then enter in along again?
You just got to be careful. So I got long at 63, got stopped out at 61, and then I'm long again at 57.
Okay.
I'm just trying to buy with these responsive buyers. When you get in a position, where do you usually put your stop loss? Below the previous period? It's kind of different every time, and mostly I do use structured stops. So sometimes my stops are a little bit wider, or a little bit shorter, depending upon where the market is at. A little bit, watch for a little bit of selling here on this prior day low. If we don't get selling on this prior day low, we can probably expect to go back up to that 70 level. I think that's where the last volume was at. Profile is really thin right here on the 60, and it's right at the previous day's low. Gonna be a key battle right here at this 60. Battling if we're gonna stay inside the previous day's range or if we're gonna stay below it. So it makes sense to see responsive sellers and responsive buyers on both sides of this prior day low. We are having a little bit of offering coming in here on the 60 below the prior day's low. So let's watch that level 60 here. The big level earlier as well. This is that initial level where that seller had flipped to a buyer after we had broken above, and then that caused a little bit of a short covering rally up to the high and during E period. We'll see if he still wants to be on the buy team or the sell team. Oh, it's 12:30. Goodness gracious. And if we look, remember we were talking about this earlier, is value going to move up to price, or is price going to come back down to value? Well, so far it looks like value is moving higher, right? We have 4 TPOs down here. We had these mechanical lows. Price didn't get back down. There wasn't enough supply. And now we're seeing 5 TPOs up here and 4 TPOs. So we're starting to see value develop a little bit higher. I paid $6 for 4 apples yesterday. Dang. Value did not price of those apples. Bless you. Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to Beard? Look on there. You want to? Looks like we do have some shorts taking a little bit of profit here. Let's see if they've got the supply to push back down below this low. Look at the volume coming in here on that 57. This is a pretty weak amount of supply, if you ask me. Not even to at least just, peak below that F low. Just really just seems very, very weak from the supply side. See if they can get it. 85 contracts, 22 on the low. One tick of excess. Responsive move back up into the volume of this G period right here at that 57. See if sellers are willing to re-offer this position from about 57 to 58 quarter. Nice little repair of structure here so far. Unfinished auction down here, this G low. Ugh. And tempo's putting me to sleep so slow. Go back above the 57. They tried it again to get back below that low. Really, like 57 to that 58 quarter is the offer, so above that 58 quarter we'll probably see a little bit of a bounce. But if not, well, maybe not. Maybe we might even just see up to the 60 50. We see more responsive selling at yesterday's low. And we're in, like I said, a key area here with, we have probably some responsive sellers selling here above yesterday's low and responsive buyers buying here below yesterday's low. The breath is picking up a little bit, 10 to 1. Look at the tick getting sold off the zero here for the past couple of periods. We're starting to see the weighted sectors move down a little bit. Apple's still balancing on the highs, but if we look around, Meta's picking up some steam, 3.25, Amazon 1.2, Tesla down 1.75. So we're starting to see some selling in equities a little bit here in the weighted sectors. You can see information technology and healthcare, the leading sectors of the day today. All right, Uncle Stacy, see you later. I'm about to hop off too, actually. Take a nap. So there's some good excess on that G low. Let's see if they're going to hold the impulse. The impulse is 75. Or, excuse me, 55.75. Decent volume coming in. Responsive longs taking a little bit of profit here over that 55. Impulse is held.
All right, Brad. I'm gonna hop off.
All right, bro. I'll hit you up in a bit. You done a game?
Yeah. I'm
All
done.
right, I'll hit you up
Okay. You guys have a good one.
later, bro.
Later, guys.
Later, bro.
See you, man.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I normally don't stay on this long. I think I'm about to jump off too.
Yeah, I'm about to do the same actually. I don't either. But this is a good spot to end it. So let's just talk about, what the opportunities or possibilities that we can forecast going into the rest of the day. Remember, we do have some mechanical lows still down here. E low, D low, very mechanical. So could be expecting some, some supply. If we are to break those levels, that could give us some more downside for sure. If we're not able to break those levels, it will probably just show a lack of supply, and then the market will probably look to clean them up tomorrow going into those consumer index goods tomorrow. To me, right now, it looks like some of these shorts are taking a little bit of profit, which makes sense. We're back, close to the value from, or the VPOC from Globex session. So, if they get an opportunity to get out, that would make sense, and maybe some responsive buying going on here below yesterday's low. But yeah, other than that, we still have these Globex single prints being held, so there's still some trapped longs up here, unable to find the demand for the market up at these higher levels. And until they do, the market will just become range bound. We just had a cessation of one time framing with this G period breaking the F low, and that typically is gonna, tell us that the market's gonna be rotational. But other than that, make sure that you guys are managing risk and sticking to your trade plan. If you don't have a trade plan, don't trade. And if you don't know how to make a trade plan, jump in the Discord and take a peek. A lot of people post their trade plans every single day. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys later. See you later, Pop. See you later, Trin.
Hey, Brad.
Take it easy, bro.
Later, guys.